Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm very excited about today's video because we are going to be looking through Star Wars, the art of Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. So this was actually a request by, I believe the username is Rose Tico Enthusiast. So thank you, Rose Tico Enthusiast, for actually answering the kind of like unprofessional poll I put out there, asking you guys for which book you guys would like me to look through with you guys. I think I just said you guys about 800 times in one sentence. So, sorry, it's been a long day. But anyway, and I say look through because this isn't exactly a really narrative book or novel. It's more of an informational encyclopedia-esque book. It really is more about the art and specifically the concept art behind the main scenes, territories, and important plot points of Empire Strikes Back, which just so happens to be my favorite film and out of the Star Wars trilogy, and one of my top favorite films of all time, if not my favorite film of all time. But that's the real trick, isn't it? So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to read through. This is a long book. It does have a lot of pictures, which I love. But it does also have a lot of verbiage to go along with the pictures. So I'm just going to pick out a few of my favorite parts to go with the images and some things that I find particularly interesting or relevant. And yeah, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, The Art of Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. And I'm sorry if the camera just shook, but I have it attached to Nova's my cat's little tree perch thing, and she just jumped on it. So it's a little shaky and a little shaky again. I apologize about that. But yeah, let's get started. So we open up, just like in The Empire Strikes Back, with this little probe droid here. Here's a beautiful piece of artwork by the amazingly talented Ralph McQuarrie, my personal favorite Star Wars concept artist, and I think really the number one concept artist next to Joe Johnston, who did a lot of like the mechanical stuff. But Ralph McQuarrie was more of the like this kind of beautiful scenic stuff. Let's read a little bit about this. Oh, and here it says okay, so production painting, Ralph McQuarrie, Joe Johnston. Oh, okay. Joe Johnston, in collaboration with Ralph McQuarrie, designed the ultra-sensory investigating probe robot, which drifts over the surface of Hoth. Like an arachnid, it has long, leg-like extensions that can reach down and pick up things from the ground, as well as draw things in close to its body. The legs are constantly touching ground and pushing off, and gesture in a way which makes the probot appear to be alive. The lenses, like eyes, are also sensing devices. The probot is armed with laser weapons and can not only defend itself, but will self-destruct to protect the information that it has gathered. When it is confronted by Chewie, the probot acts like a gunfighter and whips around to shoot. The Arctic landscape was inspired by pictures of an ice field which had broken up in the spring and had then frozen over. The yellowish sky is similar to the color sometimes seen in Arctic regions. Absolutely stunning. Some more concept art, different versions it looks like they went through before finally landing on what they decided upon. Beautiful. One of my personal favorite animal additions to Star Wars, the Tauntaun. What have we here? This one's by Ralph McQuarrie. It has his signature look to it. Once you start to see his art, you'll be able to really pick it up and pick out when he's done something. There's a very particular look to his textures, uses of kind of muted colors often. It's just a very interesting style. Luke and the Tauntaun have just ridden to a ridge when the low, moaning growl of a wampa ice creature captures their attention. In this conception, the Tauntaun is similar to a beast of burden. It has the ears and nose of a camel, horns of a yak or other mounted animal, and the rest is kangaroo or dinosaur-like. That's interesting because I always thought when I saw it running from afar like that, kind of like rigid running. I know they did it with like kind of like stop animation, or I guess what people would refer to now as claymation. There's a scene where it's kind of far away and you see the Tauntaun running, and it always reminded me a little bit of like a velociraptor, the way a velociraptor runs, or a T-Rex even, just like scaled down, obviously. And in my Wildlife of Star Wars book, there's a whole section on Tauntauns in which it actually explains that Tauntauns are reptilian, even though they have mammal-like features such as fur. They are actually furry reptiles, so I thought that was interesting. It has long fur around the neck and soft down around its belly. Tauntauns are an integral part of life on Hoth. The general effect of this illustration was to be somewhat reminiscent of an old-time Western hero and his trusty, beloved horse. Absolutely. And then you have the other conceptualizations down here on the bottom in black and white sketch. Very cool. Some more concept art here. And even more here once we actually have the working models brought in. There you have the mechanical skeleton, which is underneath, as well as the exterior of the Tauntaun with its fur. And there you have one of the model makers, or I guess operators, working on the small version for the stop animation. So cool. Here's another really beautiful piece of art of Luke outrunning the AT-AT walkers with his Tauntaun, but that was back in the earlier design period when it still looked much more reptilian, or dinosaur-like. This one I always thought was particularly cool. The Bacta tank and the Medbot on Hoth. Again by Ralph McQuarrie. After Luke's overnight exposure to Hoth's fierce environment, he is placed in a Bacta tank. Han and Leia await their friend's rejuvenation from an adjoining room. The medical staff is headed by 2-1B, a medical droid with a human brain. How cool is that? A medical droid with a human brain. So cool. And remember, these were concepts. This was concept art. So it just always boggles my mind when I hear people make fun of Star Wars in the sense that it's like not intelligent enough, or it's not deep enough, or it's really more of a space opera than sci-fi. Like, I'm sorry, but something about a medical robot with a human brain sounds pretty frickin' Philip K. Dick sci-fi to me. That's really cool. That's really technologically and scientifically interesting. And just I don't know. I mean, I know that necessarily wouldn't really work now in the grand scheme of things. It would probably be the other way around. Like, you would rather have a robot perform your surgery for all of its, precision and everything. But I just think that's cool that they were thinking that way, kind of outside the box. It was very different. The ultimately logical surgeon, its mechanical support system, is backed up with a microprocessing computer. Indeed. Like I said, I'm not going to read through everything because that would take a very long time. I'm just going to go through some of the points that I find particularly interesting on a personal level that I'm drawn to. But I highly recommend this book for anyone that is interested in learning more, not just about the concept work behind Star Wars, the original trilogy, but just like you get a lot more of a feel for even the mechanical things. There are blueprints, and you just have so much rich information in here. It's really, really cool. The art is beautiful. It's really well put together. It's really interesting. It's like a I don't know, like a designer book. It's very cool. Look at that. I mean, that's amazing. I love that scene. This is the moment when Luke scrambles out of his crashed snowspeeder and must decide if he's going to run from the charging AT-ATs before the smoke clears. Painted to complete the collection of key action shots, McQuarrie captures great detail in this moment. The bent laser cannon, the gouged furrow of ice, and the smoke and steam resulting from the collision between the hot metal of the blasted speeder and the ice. This effect on film would be a combination of live action, models, and matte paintings. And this is something I wanted to talk about also. Obviously it's not in the book, but the scenes with the AT-ATs, once we have that really amazing ice battle on Hoth, the scenes with the AT-ATs, I think has some of the best music that John Williams performed and created for the original trilogy, because you just have such a powerful moment of music going on. I'm sorry, Nova is like literally jumping all over the place, so I'm sorry for the shaking camera. Hopefully she's done hanging out on there right now and no more shaking camera. But yeah, I can't remember specifically how the music goes, but I just remember he just, and I'm talking about Williams, just is so in touch with what's going on in the scene, and you can really feel almost like this icy tundra in the music, but then there's this like mechanical whirring, and underneath it all you have this undercurrent of like the human spirit and these warring people who are fighting for different things. And I know it sounds, when I put it out there like that, it sounds kind of crazy to say that John Williams captured that all, but you can really feel that in the music. At least I personally can when I hear the music, especially for that scene. It's just, I know I don't remember if it was trumpets. It's like like I love my sound effects. Sorry for the nerdiness, but like it's hitting these levels where there's like this intensity and it's bringing it forward, and you can feel it when you see the AT-ATs walking in the distance. You see it from far away over the icy field, and you just start hearing this music build and build and build, and then, you know, of course it culminates in the scene with Luke in the ice speeder, or whatever you would call it, where he's going around it and tying the tension wire around its legs. But this music is very, very powerful, and as I recall, I remember that being the first music in The Empire Strikes Back that really like got me like, ooh, like we're back in Star Wars again. Like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, all the music of Star Wars is amazing, with the exception of The Last Jedi, because I personally don't think John Williams gave a flying butt about the music in that one. You can just feel in the music he really did not connect with anything that was going on. But with everything else being said, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to completely nerd out. Sorry, guys, for my tangent. Let's see what else we have here. Star Destroyer. Beautiful image there of the Star Destroyer in a smaller ship. Or is that it? It's just another Star Destroyer. It's just further away, outside the atmosphere of Hoth. So friggin' cool. This painting was done as an establishing shot for a promotional trailer released in European theaters. We see Hoth as a sphere of ice textured in shades of blue and white. Painted with camera movement in mind, there is a great perspective if you focus past the bottom of the Star Destroyer and onto Hoth's distant moon. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful, darling. Beautiful. Here we have the Millennium Falcon trying to outrun the Star Destroyer. Just gorgeous. Studies and thumbnail sketches of the Meditation Chamber and Emperor. So here you have different versions of what we would have seen when Darth Vader was in his meditation chamber. That's the one where he has his helmet removed. When you first see that really vulnerable, different side of Vader that you never expected or anticipated or necessarily even wanted as a fan watching Star Wars. I remember when I first saw Vader with his helmet off in that scene, it was so brief, but I remember like feeling what that Imperial officer must have felt when he walked in and he saw Vader in that moment of like, oh my god, his helmet's off. Like, just that, like, almost, like, I'm sure it's so interesting to think of that backstory, and I'm sure they had this in the books as like an internal monologue for the guy, but I really don't remember much of the books because I read them when I was way younger. But I'm assuming it was probably what we all felt with like, wow, Darth Vader is this powerful, you know, sorry, Nova's behind me trying to, what are you doing, you muffin? She's crazy. She's trying to get a hair tie that she plays fetch with, and she is so rambunctious, she will keep doing it. And it's really hard to record videos with her because she's literally behind my butt right now trying to get a hair tie from me. Like, it looks like I have a tail, and it's just her trying to get a hair tie, so I will play fetch with her with it, which is what we've been doing all day, and it's still not enough for her. So, anyway, just that guy seeing, what are you doing? What are you doing? That guy seeing Vader in that space, and us seeing Vader for the first time, like, whoa, he's scarred, he's wounded, he has something else going on that we weren't aware of. And it's really, really jarring and but fascinating, and you're like, oh. But then even the Imperial officer, whoever he is, looks away and is like, oh, I didn't want to see that kind of thing. But we were just left with this whoa, what else is going on with Vader? That's really interesting. I hadn't thought of him as a vulnerable character before, and now I am. And that's something that's so different and cool about the original trilogy, is it gives you these little nuggets of things to ponder, but doesn't give any of it away. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And that's something that I kind of liked about The Force Awakens, to be honest with you, is I felt it still gave us some new things to think about and be like, oh, who's Snoke? Why does he have that scar? And yes, I know it was kind of like a copy and paste version of A New Hope in a lot of ways, but it still at least had something to wonder about, and to wonder who were Rey's parents, and where did these people come from, and is there a relation, and is there a deeper meaning behind it? Nova, you really gotta stop, dude. Oh god, I just love her so much. Squish her little head out, just he's so annoying. Oh, I just drooled on myself, sorry. But here, I'm just gonna put her down there. Okay, hopefully she's not gonna give up, because she's the most persistent creature I've ever met in my life, including humans. It's really obnoxious. But anyway, I'm not gonna go on that tangent. I'm gonna try to keep reading through this, because this video is gonna be really long if I stop and talk about everything. Dagobah, one of my favorite planets, personally. Some preliminary concept art of Yoda. Not quite the Yoda we know, as you can see. It's really, really interesting to see where things started and where they ended, what they decided upon. Because right here, he looks like a straight up Norwegian garden gnome, or a Smurf, or a creepy Santa hobbit-like almost in appearance. I love Yoda's hut. I mean, that's obviously not exactly what we saw in the final film version, but that's a really cool concept. It looks almost like an anthill. Yoda made his house out of mud and clay. Since light from Dagobah's sun rarely breaks through the cloud covering and thick forest, there is a hearth in each room for warmth. Skylights and windows filled with precious stones let in what little light there is. Living in a constant state of twilight, Yoda spends most of his time in meditation, studying ancient documents and diagrams. The cabinet on the wall represents one of the most technically advanced objects in the house and holds some of Yoda's private possessions. The bottle suspended from the ceiling holds either water or wine. Ooh! Is that what Luke bumped his head on, or was it just the ceiling? I don't remember. Look, there you have Yoda's like little stove set up. Very cool. Yoda's so cute. What does that remind you of? Look close. Look at those little white egg-like things. Remind you of Alien at all? Interesting. The air is muggy and dank as a shirtless Luke carries Yoda on his back. The tree roots resemble claws or spider legs. Covering the ground is a field of paludal fungi with embryonic membranes. Embryonic membranes, eh? Sounds like Alien to me. A sticky white fluid is secreted by these yogurt plants. With Yoda as his guide, Luke travels through this environment on his transcendental journey of growth. Transcendental indeed. That is why Dagobah is one of my favorite planets, is because of the beautiful scenes and character growth and development you see there. Specifically in the cave when Luke faces himself. Oh, beautiful. If you look here, we have the X-Wing with Luke boarding, or already boarded, I suppose. Looking at Yoda and the Force Ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, both of which are, as I recall, kind of like informing him that it's maybe not the best idea to go to Bespin, to Cloud City, to try and help his friends. But, well, they're his friends. They needed it. And it ended up okay. Though the scene is pictured differently in the film, McQuarrie's painting more than captures the feeling of Luke's departure from Dagobah. The young rebel solemnly vows to his teachers that he will continue his reflections into the ways of the Jedi Knights. Beautiful. Asteroid belt. Space slug. What a cool scene! Oh my gosh, what a cool scene this was. Oh. The flaring explosions in the first painting occur as asteroids collide in their movement through space. In the film, excitement was added by having Han dodge through the narrow canyons and craters of an even larger asteroid. In his efforts to escape the ongoing asteroid storm, he discovers this cave. After coming to rest in what they believe to be merely a great cave, the rebels are startled to find the floor of the cave moving and the entrance growing smaller. They leap to the controls and fly through what turns out to be a gap in the teeth of a huge creature. What a cool scene that was. Imagine being the guy who, like in his imagination, I'm not sure, who, I mean, maybe it was Lawrence Kasdan that thought of it. I don't know, because there's so many different people involved in the project, but the person that thought of, they landed, they thought they were safe, and all of a sudden they were in a space slug. That's just so cool to me. Very cool. Minox. Bespin. Another very cool planet, particularly Cloud City. One of my favorite destinations. Buoyed above the clouds, this majestic city is bathed in golden sunlight. Once the headquarters of great leaders, the city's various levels represent all strata of society, from the lowest mining Ugnaught to the highest royal official. Having grown at random, evidence of the city's glorious past is seen in the monumental structures which remain. Oh, excuse me. I'm not bored. I've had a long day. I'm tired. But I'm not bored, I promise. I love this. This is riveting. The top level is reminiscent of the New York City's skyline. The verandas along the side are actually huge landing ports. Joe Johnston designed the twin-pod cloud car seen on the left amidst the dust clouds. There's that bright orange twin cloud car. I'm saying cloud car. It might sound like clown car because I'm a little stuffed up from my allergies. I know I've had allergies for like a month now, so I apologize for the nasal quality of my voice, but I'm fine. I'm fine, thank you. So yeah, oh, that's something that I also wanted to touch on, was that I think Joe Johnston, from what it looks like, is more of like the mechanical, technical guy that designed more of like the ships, like the original concept of the ship structures and stuff, whereas McQuarrie was more of the landscapes and destination, planets, characters, placement, blocking, stuff like that, which is really cool. They were a good team, great team. Ooh, and here we have, that's beautiful. Look at these different character concepts. Okay, so look at these guys. Very like elegant, diplomatic style. And then here, that looks to be what might be the original concept for Orlando, and maybe even a girlfriend or a wife. She is beautiful. Look at that elegance. Nice couple there. Nice, Lando. I don't think if she was there, he would have been hitting on Leia the way that he did, so. Oh, excuse me again. Oh, and they're really small. I won't even show you, but you can see Han and Leia walking towards them. Oh, and it looks like Han has his arm around Leia. That's nice. Illuminated by northern lights, the landing platform is located up in the towers atop Cloud City. When the Millennium Falcon arrives, Han and Leia are met by Lando and his aide. Oh, that was his aide! Okay. At the time McQuarrie was doing this painting, the character of the aide was not yet developed, and the figure of a woman was chosen as a possibility. Oh! Okay. Well, she's still beautiful. But I guess that's why we had Lobot, or whatever his name is. They used him instead. Who was cool. He was always like a badass kind of cool guy. A lot of blueprints for the city. Ooh, yes, girl. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I want that dress. Look at that. Beautiful. Leia, look at you. Now, I just want to check. Give me a second. If they have this particular scene that I'm thinking of. And if they don't, I'm going to talk about it. They don't, so I'm going to talk about it. Just let me get out of Cloud City first and make sure it's not there. Okay, yeah, it's not there. So recall, I don't know how to like interlay images or videos into my videos. That's why I just record myself talking for what's like 28 minutes now, and you know, my other videos. But recall to your mind, if you may, the scene where Leia is in Cloud City in that big bright room, right? And this is a theory of mine, and as far as I know, no one else has ever talked about it. She's in that big bright room, and she has those like two like little like longish like pink tail braids that she has in, and she's wearing that like the Bespin outfit that she has on, which is like a flowy like kind of gown cape thing with like a reddish orange dress, and then like the like pale pinkish beige cape thing around it. And she's in the room, and in the center of the room, right, is this structure. It's sculptural in its quality, and it looks to be a double helix DNA structure. This always stood out to me when I was young. It still stands out to me because I thought it was beautiful, and I was like, wow, if I had a big bright room, I'd probably want that in the middle of it too, because it looks like a DNA double helix. It's twisted, and it's going right through the center of the room. And after seeing, what was it, the Clone Wars, which obviously I did not particularly care for, but I have more appreciation for now as people talk more and more about the prequels, and I realize how bad The Last Jedi was. I'm like, wow, the prequels really weren't that bad compared to The Last Jedi. But in light of the Clone Wars, and in light of the whole theory that Lando Calrissian might be a clone, I remember thinking, whoa. Or maybe he is a clone now by canon, I don't remember. I can't keep track of all this stuff. But I was like, whoa, DNA, double helix, cloning. Huh, interesting. So anyway, I don't know if that's really a very well fleshed out theory, but that's my theory, is that beautiful DNA structure in the middle was kind of like a hint to like, oh wow, like Lando, who runs Cloud City and who obviously has ownership over this particular room, has this beautiful double helix structure in the middle, which is kind of calling attention to the fact that maybe he's a clone, or, you know, I mean, that might be like reaching at straws, but you heard it here first. So if you ever use that theory, or if anyone else ever uses it, please just mention Jedi Bunny in there, because, you know, or my name, Kelly, that's my real name. Maybe I wish my name was Jedi Bunny, because I would love for that to be my real name, but I'm just gonna have to stick with Kelly for now. But anyway, yeah, I always thought that was very interesting and very cool. So this is the room that would be in the film. That's the concept of the room, with Leia in her beautiful dress, which is much prettier than the dress that she ended up wearing for some reason. Han and Leia become suspicious of Lando's gracious hospitality when Chewbacca returns to their guest penthouse with the damaged C-3PO. This room was described as being sun-filled and central to 4 or 5 adjoining apartments. McQuarrie wanted to project the feeling of a comfortable, luxurious space. He gave the room a sunken area surrounded with couches and added columns and metal frame sliding doors that operate without touch. The design for the apartment set seen in The Empire Strikes Back was redesigned by production designer Norman Reynolds. So Norman Reynolds, I'm assuming, would have been the one responsible for the whole double helix structure. And now that I'm seeing this with like the sunken level, that reminds me a lot of the Jedi Council room. It was very similar. I guess that was on Coruscant, which was also very well lit, and they were all obviously sitting in a circle, and I think that was a sunken room as well, from what I remember. I haven't seen the prequels in many, many years, but from what I remember, that was there. That's nice. There's Lando and Leia. And let's see what it says. Lando stands proudly as Princess Leia looks out over the cityscape. McQuarrie gave the upper deck of Cloud City a cool, futuristic look. The smooth and massive sculptured surfaces were inspired by the Art Deco movement of the 1920s. The round shapes of Bespin's architecture set it apart from the angular shapes that make up most cities we know. That's very true. If you hear weird sounds, it's Nova licking her lips, sorry. She's just being a crazy little cat right now. Wow. So this is where you really start to see Ralph McQuarrie's sense of fashion come out. Very cool looks over here. Look at these different looks that we have for men and women. Look at that. I think that's supposed to be Leia. Maybe a different hairdo for her. I'm glad they didn't do that one. Very interesting. He's quite the fashionista, I must say. So those are all different fashion looks for the Bespin citizens, who I'm assuming would be kind of a metropolitan mix of New Yorkers and Parisians, let's say. It's so cool how well thought out all of the elements of these stories really were. One of my favorite scenes, oh, sorry. I'm getting distracted. One of my favorite scenes here, we would be honored if you would join us. Great, great frickin' scene. Lando betrays them. This hall is based on a sketch from a series done to establish Cloud City architecture. It is high among the towers of the city. Cloud and other towers can be seen through the windows on either side. It is designed to inspire awe in those visiting dignitaries who are led through it on their way to meetings with officials of the city. The dining table was added when the room was deemed suitable for the first meeting in Cloud City between Darth Vader and our heroes. Vader, using the Force, will soon snatch Han's pistol from him and take the rebels as prisoners. In the film, the actual set was built from a different concept by production designer Norman Reynolds. So it sounds like Norman Reynolds was a big part in the actual production design, clearly. Han, now held in detention, has just come down the elevator to the prison area. Unable to see out of the elevator, Han does not know that Boba Fett and Lando have been bargaining with the Dark Lord over his fate. Warrior Boba Fett's caped costume is medieval in design. To the left, a creature prisoner antagonizes a guard. Light emanating from the top of the shaft focuses our attention on Han. The bars of the elevator cast shadows out into the room, thus heightening the dramatic effect of the scene. The doors, resembling old jukeboxes, lead to the prison cells, and the slots under the doors allow trays to be slid into the unseen prisoners. This design was not used in the film, but it's definitely cool enough to keep it in the book. Beautiful. So cool. So cool. Oh my gosh, yes. Sorry. You guys must think I'm so crazy. Slave One. I always thought this was such a cool ship. I don't know if they knew it was going to be called Slave One yet here. Let's see what they call it. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. 3 views of Boba Fett's ship, Slave One. Sorry, if you see my head like poking around the book looking, I'm just making sure it's all in frame of the camera because I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing. The carbon freezing chamber is located deep in the city near the reactor shaft. Above is an early concept of the stage on which Han is entombed to be given as human cargo to bounty hunter Boba Fett. A cold blue light illuminates vapor coming from the freezing chamber below. High above are rails to carry the carbon ladle and the great claw which lifts the metal encapsulated frozen life forms from the pit. The trenches and foil forms of equipment in the room were designed to provide a place for the cliff-hanging duel between Vader and Skywalker. Later in production, designer Norman Reynolds opened up the space to allow for more dramatic possibilities for the duel between Vader and Luke. Overhead is an apparatus that is capable of focusing a ray onto the platform. McQuarrie painted this version of the carbon freezing chamber, which closely resembles the stage seen in the film. So cool. I mean, you guys, how awesome is that? Enclosed in the spiderweb structure of the carbon freezing chamber, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader duel. The room is located within one of the many vanes in the reactor shaft. I love those illuminated stairs. Such an amazing scene. Wow. This visualizes the moment before Vader, using the Force, hurls a heavy piece of equipment at Luke. As the equipment smashes the round viewport behind Luke, he is sucked out the window by a rush of air coming up the reactor shaft. Through the window, we see the opposite shaft wall of a half mile or so away. The small lights are actually large ports for landing shuttlecraft traveling in the shaft. Wow. Oh, that makes sense. So cool. The rudder-like vanes of the reactor shaft are used to create desired changes in airflow, which control the city's movements in space and route gases to be processed. This shaft is about a mile in diameter and is a structure which houses a number of facilities related to the manufacturing and processing of Tibanna gas. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. We're coming towards the end, you guys. Look at that. Oh my gosh, Ralph McQuarrie. What an eye for detail and patience. I can't imagine drawing all those tiny little lights. Oh my gosh. Here's Luke, just hanging. Does he have his arm in the concept? He has both his arms, you guys. Scandalous. Look, before he lost his arm. I mean, not before, but in the concept drawing, they hadn't decided that he'd be amputated yet. That's very cool. During the laser duel, Luke falls from the Vane platform and is then sucked into an air shaft, which leads to this exhaust port on the underside of the city. This painting served to establish a possible design for the port and for the fragile antenna-like device, which Luke is able to grasp long enough for the Millennium Falcon to swing past and rescue him. Doesn't say anything about the amputated arm, though. Rebel cruiser. So this is once they're back. Ooh. Another medbot. I don't think that's whatever his name is. 1-2B. 1-2B. A moment of tender kinship in the medical bay. C-3PO and R2-D2 watch as a surgical droid, 2-1B. Oh, it is 2-1B. Looks, yeah, I guess it is. Operates on the young Jedi's wound. McQuarrie envisioned 2-1B's medical staff as including an assortment of support computers. The unit at the foot of the bed is connected to Luke's arm and functions as anesthesiologist, while the optical unit overhead gives the attending surgeon a second view from which to make decisions and a third hand for the more intricate procedures. Very cool. And here we have one of the most powerful endings in film history, in my humble opinion. I can hear the fanfare now. So you guys, this is an incredible book. I highly recommend getting this if you're interested in any of the things I talked about, because it has all of that and way, way more. It has blueprints. It has beautiful, beautiful artwork by Ralph McQuarrie. Beautiful designs by that other guy, Johnston or whatever his name was. And it's just a really, really cool book. I highly recommend it. Look at this beautiful final photo without the droids there. Just Luke and Leia. It's pretty beautiful. Here this says. This painting was done with the final scene of the film in mind. Luke and Leia look out a round window of the Rebel cruiser as Millennium Falcon, piloted by Lando Calrissian, goes off in pursuit of Boba Fett. What a freaking cool ending. Oh my gosh. Just like, I have chills right now just thinking about the heroicness of that ending. Just, I mean, what? So first of all, I obviously saw Star Wars for the first time after the original trilogy had already been released. So I knew that there was more to come when I watched A New Hope. I think a lot of people, including Lucas himself, thought that A New Hope would be a standalone film. And so at the end of that film with the medal ceremony, it has all of this excitement and like, yes, and passion and beauty, and you feel like this love of the characters that have come together, and it's beautiful. But there's also, it's not, I wouldn't call it a finality, but it's just a great, beautiful ending. It ties up very nicely because you feel like, yes, they made the steps that they needed to make towards, you know, as far as we're concerned, the Empire is at a complete loss at that point. But then when you have The Empire Strikes Back, it has this open-ended, dark, foreboding ending, but it's also so heroic and romantic and like and beautiful. But like I remember when I first saw The Empire Strikes Back and it ended, I was like, I can't wait. And I think I saw it at the end of a weekend, and like my parents wouldn't rent me movies during the week. I could only watch movies on the weekend. So it was like I had to wait a whole week, like a whole 5 days before I could see the next one. And I remember feeling like that felt like eternity to me. I was like, I need to. So I can't even imagine if any of y'all were like when this was in theaters and you guys saw. Okay, oh my gosh, that's what I want to ask you. So if you saw The Empire Strikes Back when it was in theaters and you knew that that was the last time you were going to see Star Wars until the next one came out, what were your thoughts? What were your feelings when you saw Luke and Leia looking out of the Rebel cruiser, looking out of that panoramic window and watching Lando fly off in the Millennium Falcon? What were you thinking? What were you thinking was going to happen? Like what were your thoughts? What were your feelings? That must be so cool. I want to like relive that experience with you guys. Yeah, I apologize if today's video was a little like lackluster in energy or anything. I actually tried recording a few more times, to be completely honest. I wanted to record a video earlier today, kind of touching on the whole Kelly Marie Tran thing, where she like closed her Instagram today because she was getting so much harassment. And there are also rumors that Kathleen O'Nova's gonna jump on there again, so the camera's gonna shake. What are you doing? Sorry. I'm gonna try to hold it so it doesn't shake. And I really wanted to record a video kind of like talking about trying to be positive in the community and trying to separate myself from that drama and separate ourselves from that drama, because from what I've talked to you guys about in the comments, it seems like all of you are just fans of Star Wars and we just want Star Wars back. It isn't about politics or social agendas or political messages. It's just about wanting good film. At the end of the day, like, yes, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but the reason I'm a fan of the original trilogy is because I'm a huge fan of film in general. I studied film in college. I grew up watching good films. My dad has always been like a very adamantly like connoisseur-esque type of person when it comes to film. He understands good film, good direction, that kind of stuff. So I grew up around that and wanting good film, wanting good quality, especially out of films in my life. And I love a lot of the classics. And that's the thing with the original trilogy, is for me, the original trilogy holds up as what I consider to be a classic. Oh my God, her whole head is in the couch right now. You gotta not, doesn't she look like a little Jawa? Look at those eyes. Ooh, teeny. Okay. But anyway, let's not get into that. But I tried recording and it was really tiring and really sad, honestly, and like disheartening. So that's why I kind of felt like a little bit sad at the end of this, like, well, not the end of this video, because this is nice. I love reading through this book. It's really fun. Let me know what you guys thought of this. So here we have a little thing on Ralph McQuarrie. Let me read that. Design consultant and conceptual artist. Studied at Art Center. I need to get through all that. Oh, he worked as an illustrator for the Boeing company. Boeing. His interpretations of Apollo space missions gave millions of television viewers an accurate idea of what was happening out in space. Lucas learned of McQuarrie in late 1975, and very soon after, Ralph was at work on production paintings of Star Wars. His other credits include Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Battlestar Galactica. Cool. And so Joe Johnston, art director, visual effects, is a translator. Ooh, he studied oceanography at Pasadena City College. Storyboard artist on Star Wars. He also did many designs for Battlestar Galactica. As an interpreter of ideas, he's an integral part of the ILM staff, Industrial Light and Magic. So cool. So the whole back section of the book are all of these artists. Artists, conceptual artists, model makers that worked on The Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars. So it's a great book. this book, I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's beautiful. If you enjoy Star Wars, if you enjoy art, if you enjoy concept art, if you like looking at blueprints and seeing the stories behind things and the ideas and the concepts behind things, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's beautiful. Yeah, so thanks for like letting me do this video. If anybody watched this, Rose Tico Enthusiast, I hope you enjoyed this. That is the person, I think that's your username, Rose Tico Enthusiast. That's the person who voted on me looking through this book. So I'll look through another book sometime soon. If you guys like this video, if there's anything you didn't particularly enjoy about it, let me know in the comments and I can maybe improve upon it next time. Just try to be nice, because this is a community of people working together to bring back our love of Star Wars and to strengthen and rejuvenate it, right? So let's be friendly. So yeah, I think that's about it for now. Again, sorry for my kind of like low energy today, but you know, it's been a long day, kind of emotional day. It's kind of sad what's going on in the Star Wars community right now, in my opinion. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. But I think we just need to, you know, stay positive, band together. Don't let haters get you down. Don't be a hater yourself. And let's just all be there for each other, because that's what matters at the end of the day. Let's be our smart, intellectual, strong, confident selves and not feel like we need to lash out at anybody or anything when it comes to Star Wars. If we enjoy a particular form of Star Wars, the best way to get more of that is to just keep enjoying it. By saying hateful things and negative things, I think all we're doing is perpetuating a problem, perpetuating a stereotype about our side of things. We don't want to be called crying man babies anymore. So let's just keep enjoying the depth and the meaning behind Star Wars and what we find meaningful and beautiful about it. And then through example, hopefully, hopefully the right people will see and understand that. But for now, I just want to enjoy the Star Wars that I enjoy. And I hope you can do the same. And hopefully we can do it together. So that's all I got for you guys. Stay strong. The Force is strong with you. It's time to clock out for the day for me. May the Force be with you, guys. Really appreciate you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.